Today I'm going to be going over how I prep brass for 6.5 Creedmoor. I use Lapua brass with the small rifle primer pockets. No particular reason, it's just what I was able to get a hold of when I started reloading, and thus far I'm very happy with the results. In my brass prep process, I like to start with using a universal depriming tool. I use this one here made by Hornady. The reason being is I like to take steps to clean my brass before I resize my brass. So after using the depriming tool, I will clean out the primer pockets using a primer pocket uniformer. I use this one from K&M. I love it. It works great. After that, I'll make sure that I clean out the flash holes. With the Lapua brass, they actually have a smaller flash hole, so you need to make sure that you get the right size. I got the one that is 0.062 from K&M. Once I do all that, I will then take the brass and put it in a tumbler with corncob media. I feel that it gets the brass clean enough before I start actually doing any thorough machining on it. Once the brass is clean, I will then go on to doing the resizing. I use the Hornady match grade bushing die. It does a full length resizing, and you can put in whichever bushing that you feel that you need to get it to the neck tension that you're looking for when you're seating your bullets. So I like to use the Hornady one-shot case lube. I just feel that it's the easiest to use, it's the easiest to clean up, and it's just a non-tedious application for case lube. After the brass is all resized, I will trim it to length using my Wilson case trimmer. For trimming the brass to length, I use this Wilson case trimmer, and then after it's trimmed to length, I'll deburr all the brass. Then I'll run it through the tumbler again, and once it comes out of the tumbler, I'll run it through a sonic cleaner. That way, any oils are all off of the brass, any debris is out of it, and I just like having that extra step to have my brass clean. Once the brass comes out of the sonic cleaner, I'll rinse it and then run it through a dryer. After the brass is all dried, I'll take it over to my annealing machine, and once it's annealed, it's ready to rock and roll and ready to load. My case trimmer is already set up. All I have to do is run the brass through. How that works is you have a piece of brass, and then you've got a chamber-like cylinder that the brass goes into. Give it a tap, put it on there, and then you cam this over, and that locks that cylinder in place. And then on the end here is a hex drive bit that you can use to use your drill with. So you just put the drill on, give it a quick spin, release the cam, give it a little tap, and it's got a perfectly flush, very nice trim. So when you're actually going through and doing multiple pieces of brass, it doesn't take too long, and it is 100% consistent. And the trim is perfectly on the proper axis, because the cylinder, which acts as a chamber, like if you're chambering the brass into a barrel, keeps it perfectly straight and in line. And that way you don't have to worry about any wandering with the cutter head, because it's actually very, very tight tolerances inside of the housing. Once I have all my brass trimmed the length, I will then run it through the deburr, and I will show you how I do that. Once I'm done with this, have this taken down and cleaned up, I'll set up the deburring machine and we'll go from there. For deburring the brass, I use this Frankfurt Arsenal brass prep station. It's got a built-in trimmer on it. I don't use it for trimming precision brass, but I'll use it for trimming 223 and 308 for ARs and stuff like that. It works great. It's real quick, but I just don't think it's quite accurate enough for the high precision stuff that I do. So got the outside deburr, inside deburr, and that is all that I have to do with this machine. So it goes pretty quick. All you gotta do is basically touch the brass on it, not taking off a whole lot. It just literally needs to get that sharp edge, the burr, off of the brass. All the brass is prepped and machined. The only things left to do is clean it and anneal it. So I am going to be taking the brass and putting it through the corncob tumbler. The brass is done in the tumbler, so we'll dump it all into the separator. I'll dump it out of here. Put it into the basket for the sonic cleaner. Before I put it into the sonic cleaner, I always like to take the basket of brass, just give it a little bit of a shake to get any residual corncob media to fall out if it can. Once that is done, I will drop it into the sonic cleaner. One thing you need to do is make sure that you've got enough fluids in there. Not that you want to get too much in there, because there is a maximum fill level. Typically I only do 100 pieces of brass at a time, but I had about 150, so I figured I'd give it all a go. I always run this with the heat option on, and I will run it for 30 minutes with the degas selection on to start. Cover it up, hit go, and I'll be back in 30 minutes. All right, the sonic cleaner is done, so I'm gonna pull the tray and take it over and rinse it out. You want to make sure that you get all the cleaning solution and any film off of the brass, and then I will put it into the dryer. So I've got the brass rinsed and I've got it inside this towel, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of fold it over a little bit and then just kind of tumble the brass around inside the towel. Reason being is it's going to get all the droplets of water. And then you won't have the water spots after it finishes the dry cycle. Now this is no special brass dryer or anything like that. It is literally just a food dehydrator. Nothing special about it. Alright, so I'll leave that go for about 2 hours and the brass should be ready to go after that. It's been 2 hours. I'm going to turn that off, pull the lid. I'm just going to take the trays and put them on the workbench and let everything cool down real nice, because it does get fairly warm. Warm enough where it'll make your skin burn if you touch it. So I'm going to leave them out. It'll only take 10-15 minutes. Everything will be cold to the touch. And then I'm going to box everything up and put it away for storage until I'm ready to actually load up a few rounds.